In a recent interview, Jeff Fenech, who is an Australian former world champion, fought people like Azuma Nelson while he was boxing. He's now training Lucas Browne, and in a recent interview, he came out and said that Lucas Browne actually hits harder than Mike Tyson. Now, some of you may not realize that Jeff Fenech actually trained Mike Tyson for his last fight, and Jeff Fenech and Mike Tyson were good friends for many, many years. Even when Mike Tyson was in his prime, he was good friends with Jeff Fenech. They spent a lot of time together. Fenech has seen Mike Tyson in the gym firsthand far more than any of us. So he's in a position, and obviously he's had Tyson on the pads and seen him on the bag, as he has Lucas Browne. So he's in a position to tell you who hits harder. But when it comes to Mike Tyson fans, and I'm not trying to be offensive or anything like that, I'm just being real, Mike Tyson fans, of which there are millions, tens of millions all around the world, are probably the most fanatical boxing fans in the history of the sport. Mike Tyson has been retired, how long now? Coming up a decade. His prime was in the late 80s, but yet the Mike Tyson fervor, the Mike Tyson, hype train has never really stopped, even though his prime ended several decades ago. So the fanaticism that his fans exhibit is pretty much unprecedented in boxing. I know right now we've got Pacquiao and Floyd, but they're still active fighters. Tyson's prime was a long, long time ago, yet his fans are probably more fanatical than ever right now. Incredible. And not only are they fanatical, but they're also delusional, many of them. A lot of his fans believe that Tyson was obviously the greatest heavyweight of all time. Many of them believe he was the greatest fighter of all time, period. They believe that in his prime, when he was with Kevin Rooney, he was invincible. They believe that pretty much everyone ducked him, including Holyfield and Lewis. They believe that he was the fastest heavyweight of all time, the biggest punch in heavyweight of all time, without doubt. They believe all these kind of ridiculous things. So when I saw this article with Jeff Fenech saying that Lucas Browne hits harder than Mike Tyson posted on Facebook, the response in the comment section was what I expected. Fanatical, insane Mike Tyson fans, extremely upset, angry, livid, saying, how dare this punk Jeff Fenech say that Lucas Browne hits harder than Tyson? People posting all kinds of madness in the comment sections, literally livid, like they wanted to kill Jeff Fenech for saying that Lucas Browne hits harder. Well, Jeff Fenech has been in the gym with Lucas Browne. He's been in the gym with Tyson. He's had them both on the pads. He's trained both of them. So why do you think you know better than he does? Okay? When it comes to boxing, I've been over this many times. There are many fighters who hit extremely hard. Many fighters. There are fighters out there, journeymen, who hit harder than the world champions do. But these lesser known fighters may not have the delivery system to be able to deliver that power at the highest level. When I say delivery system, they may not have the speed. They may not have the timing. They may not have the accuracy. They may not have the coordination. Okay? It takes a lot to be able to land your power at the top level against the best opposition. It takes a lot more than just having a big punch. You can have a big punch, but if you don't have an effective delivery system, then that big punch is not going to tell in the ring and you ain't going to score the knockouts. And you also have to worry about what's coming back at you. What if you're a guy who can really punch, but your coordination is terrible and you got a glass chin and a poor defense? Well, you're probably going to get knocked out for most of your career, and you ain't going to get nowhere near the big time, and you probably ain't going to score many knockouts. But yet, if you put yourself on a punching bag next to the supposed most prolific or biggest puncher in the division, who's a world champion, you might be able to hit harder than him. It's just he's got a more effective delivery system. He's got better skill and technique than you. So he's able to land those big shots on people's jaws in the ring and make it count. All right? And when it comes to heavyweights, I'm telling you this right now, folks, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of heavyweights over the years who hit harder than Mike Tyson. Dozens of them. And Lucas Browne, I'm sure, is also one of those guys who hits harder than Tyson. Right? I'm just reiterating what I've just said, but the hardest punchers in the division are often guys you've never heard of. Right? You look at Monty Barrett, for example. He said the hardest puncher he ever stepped in the ring with was not David Tua. It was not Vladimir Klitschko. It was not David Hay. It was a guy called Eric Kirkland. He said that was the hardest puncher he ever faced. Okay, George Chuvalo, who had an incredible chin. He was in there with people like George Foreman and Joe Frazier. I can't remember the guys' names now, but he mentioned a couple of guys who he said were the hardest punches he ever stepped in the ring with. And it wasn't Foreman or Frazier. Okay? This is the reality of boxing. You have guys out there who are big punchers, who have big, devastating knockout power, if they can land their power, but they're not prolific punchers. They can't make the power tell on a consistent basis. All right, so recognize the difference. And when you're dealing with heavyweight boxing, most heavyweights have got the power to knock most other heavyweights out. And when you're talking about the elite punchers, people like Tyson and stuff like that, you get to a point where you reach a critical mass. Mike Tyson wasn't the hardest puncher of all time, but he had enough power to knock just about anyone out anyway. So if you've got more power than Tyson, well, good for you, but it's not really that necessary. Right? You can kill someone with a .22 caliber firearm. If you shoot them in the head point blank range, they're going to die. If you shoot them with a 9mm point blank, they're going to die. If you shoot them with a bazooka point blank in the head, they're going to die. If you shoot them with a nuclear missile point blank in the head, they're going to die, etc., etc. So you can use the nuclear missile if you want, but a .22 point blank is going to do the job all, just the same. So yes, Mike Tyson wasn't the hardest puncher of all time, but it didn't really matter anyway, because he had such skill and dexterity, hand speed, coordination, reflexes, technique, and all that. He had enough power to knock most guys out, and he had a great delivery system for delivering that power. Lucas Browne, although he may hit harder than Tyson, obviously he doesn't have the delivery system that Tyson had. So don't get offended, Mike Tyson fans. The reality is there are plenty of heavyweights over the years who've hit harder than Tyson. That's the reality. Including guys today like Vladimir Klitschko, Lucas Browne, Deontay Wilder. A lot of these guys probably hit harder than Tyson. Even Shannon Briggs. A lot of these guys probably hit harder than Tyson, man. Don't be offended. Right? So that doesn't mean that they're better fighters than Tyson. It doesn't mean that Tyson isn't a devastating puncher himself. Okay? So that's just my 2 cents on the issue, man. Drop your comments below. This is Hatman. I'm out.